live. We should be. Hello, everyone in the TubeBuddy audience. If you guys are seeing this live from VidSummit with an amazing panel, we have Erica, we have Brian G, we have Shelly, and we have Dee Nimmin. So, I hope you guys are excited as we are for this stream. We are answering your questions. Our panel has amazing questions pre-vetted by the form in the description. If you want to get your questions answered, please go ahead and ask in that form. To my right, we have Mr. Daniel.
Where am I at?
You are on screen. How are you? And start with some questions. All right, Brian, I am hearing feedback from the phone, so it's because of the frequency of the mic. So that being said, sorry if you guys heard that. Let us know if you can hear loud and clear. I'm seeing some feedback.
That's what I do.
Audio needs up a bit. Is it just me? Why is Dee Nimmin so beautiful, the urban explorer? All right, everyone. Let us go with question one. Guys, can you hear me?
Not really.
I will be speaking loud enough to... Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah.
All right. Hopefully this is not too loud for you at home. All right, so our first question. First of all, thank you all for the advice throughout the years. If you could give one tip on identifying and laser focusing a niche, what would that be? So how do you guys identify a niche and focus on it? Erica, do you want to go ahead and start us?
So I would say very quick and dirty, a niche is something, combination of two things. Something that you have experience or knowledge in, plus something that you're passionate in. It will not work if you're solely have the knowledge base and you're not passionate about it. So the combination of those two things is lightning in the bottle for determining your niche.
Hey, what's happening, family out there on YouTube? It's great to be here live streaming on the TubeBuddy channel. Let's talk a little bit about like the niche. What is it? What is it not? How can you move forward? The first thing I want to really share is think about the people that you want to reach that are interested in maybe a specific topic or a lifestyle, and think more about the people that are interested in that topic rather than just the topic itself. And then the more you understand what that audience wants, what they value, the things they're trying to get out of your information, I think of it as an audience filter. It allows you to move forward and really create content that the audience resonates with, that they're excited about. And the more you do that, the more you ask yourself and really think about, what is it that those people want? The more you're going to get information back, you're going to get ideas, and it gets a lot easier. And the thing I also want to mention too before we move on is that I think a lot of people can feel it's really limiting. Like, dang, I'm really passionate about all these things. I'm so excited about moving forward. Maybe it's weight loss or cooking, or maybe it's gaming, or maybe it's I'm really into tech and the iPhones. Like, I want to do all the things. Well, you can, but it's definitely harder to grow. And when you do that, it makes it more challenging. And when you do start to really decide, hey, I'm going to narrow down, I'm going to honor the audience, not just to understand what they want, but honor the audience, at that point you can move forward and you're going to have an easier time delivering on their wants, and you can start to get really amazing results. Anybody can do it, including you. Shelly. Oh, you got your own microphone. That's very fancy.
Okay, so one thing I want to say about niching down, this is from personal experience. I started out as a channel that was a variety channel, thinking that I was going to be that person that was going to be okay doing a variety of content, and it doesn't work, because if I have a tutorial one day on how to do iMovie editing, and the very next day it was how to see what's in a makeup subscription box, that is not the same audience as much as I would love it to be. And if they are confused at your channel, they're not going to come back to your channel. So I would say if you really want to focus on becoming an expert and growing and actually having a subscriber base, you have to actually niche down. And I would say if you're stuck and you don't know exactly what to do at the very beginning, I would make a list with columns about all the things that you think that you're most interested in, and you're going to see as you start writing out 50, 70, 80, 100 ideas, that there's going to be a column that's going to be more exciting to you physically. Your body is going to say, ooh, I like this. This feels good to me. And that's the one that you go with, and you wait until you have an audience that knows you, likes you, loves you. Justine in tech, she talks about tech. Now she can bake cakes, but it's much, much later in time. So you have to focus deep on something that you actually are crazy, stupid excited about, because you're going to, I know you say niche. I say niche too. I say niche, but I'm saying for niche. you have to
Life's a
stay
niche.
in it for a while, even if you feel it's maybe going to be constricting. Or on the other side of that, don't pick a niche or niche, but be fine with not growing as fast. So I would say make a list, focus on the one that excites you the most, stick with that, find your success, and then add in a little something into that orbit. Grow again until you are excited about something else, bring something else in. But when you're first starting, go deep and narrow in your niche.
Okay. So when it comes to finding a niche, that's the question, right? In terms of finding a niche. So when it comes to finding a niche on YouTube, some things that you want to think about are the sustainability. So when you are thinking, hey, this is the type of thing I'm going to start making content about, you want to make sure that you survey the market, and basically what that means is go look at, see other channels that are making that similar type of content to see, how the volume that they're getting, essentially, to make sure that there's room to make enough content there to make it a long-term thing for you. In addition to that, you also want to make sure that you are doing the right thing, again, because of sustainability. So if you are into something, and what I mean by into something, if you're that person to where your friends are saying like, oh, hey, this person always talks about this, or hey, if you have this particular thing, this is the person that you go talk to get information on that particular thing or whatever, then in that situation, that might be a good fit for you. In addition to that, you also want to, I think Shelly just said, you want to hammer out a bunch of video ideas just to make sure that you are going to be able to make content over the long term, because here's the truth. Some of this stuff, it can take some time. So because of that, you want to make sure that you have enough content so that you can kind of wait out that time, and then once things do start working for you, to make sure that that you can keep moving forward with whatever it is that you got into.
All right, so first of all, what's up, TubeBuddies?
What's up?
And going last is probably the worst thing you can possibly do after you just run it down all of the experts here. So I'm going to say this. I know everybody
you're an expert too.
You're hearing about niche down, and that's the way to do it. But I just want to give an alternate option here, because I know a lot of people say, I don't want to niche down. That choice is yours. You don't have to niche down. I recommend you do, but you don't have to. But you have to understand, if you do want to do it your way, if you do want to have a variety channel, if you do want to do a little bit of this, a little bit of that, which I don't recommend, you can do that. Just don't expect to grow as fast as you would if you did niche down. Now, everything that's said is awesome in terms of how to niche down, how to find a niche, but you don't have to do that. Just know that it will accelerate your growth.
I have something to add about the niche.
And I didn't understand the question, so that's all I got.
No, that was perfect.
So for a lot
glad
of
you paid
people
attention.
out there that are new-ish, because I work with a lot of new creators, and this is one of the topics that comes time and time again. And people are very overwhelmed with this idea of choosing a niche. And what I say is that clarity comes from action. The most important thing to do is just start and try different things. Just like Shelly said, you have that list, and just go down that list and try different things. And until you start doing it, you might not even know until like the 5th or 6th or the 7th video, they're like, that's it. And then what will happen is YouTube is a wonderful feedback loop. You'll see that your audience will really resonate with that too, because you're magnetic, your charisma, all that stuff will come forth because that true passion and that knowledge is really, really there. So don't let the fact that you don't have a niche stop you from getting started, and just go for it. Clarity comes from action, and over time, that will eventually happen organically.
I couldn't agree more. So I want to go ahead and just add my own 2 cents to the question, and that is basically, whenever you are starting a YouTube channel, like they said, find what excites you. Make sure you're doing it for the long term, to quote Mr. Nick Nimmin. All right, everyone. Our next question is, when do you have enough uploads to tell when data is useful for your channel? When do you have enough uploads to
just
know
2
when
months.
data is
When do you
useful
know?
for your channel?
Okay. So the question is, how do you know when you've got enough analytical information to really make good decisions to help you move forward?
Yes.
And the answer is, as soon as you start publishing videos, and here's why. The truth of the matter is, as you gain more and more views, you're going to get more and more data, and that's going to allow you to move forward and make better decisions. But here's what's up. The more you open up the app, the more you open up YouTube Studio, look into the analytics, the more you start thinking about what these metrics are, the better you're going to be able to read them and get ideas. And even if you think, well, I know what's going on, you will absolutely still get more insight as you continue to look. As far as like what are the hard numbers, for me, we were doing, me and Nick had a workshop yesterday, and we worked with some creators that had videos that had maybe 150 to 200 views, and absolutely 200 views is enough data to get really great information on your audience retention. Because think about this, we're talking about 150 people. It's not your mom, it's not your girlfriend, it's not your best friend, it's people that are choosing to watch your content, and you'll get a good indication as to how your video is performing. And one of the most critical elements, again, that's the audience retention, AKA view duration, and that's going to help you, again, move forward. The thing to think about as well is things like CTR. With 100 or 200 clicks, you're going to be able to get a good feel of how you're doing. But when you get 1,000 clicks, 1,000 views, that's going to even be better. The sooner you dig in, the sooner you try to unravel what all the metrics mean, the more likely you're going to have a clear understanding of the audience that you want to obtain. And I'm going to say it again, one of the things I said with niche is good, audience is better. And this audience filter, think about filtering all your actions based on how the audience is responding to your content. Ask yourself, what are they going to think about this video? Or if you're doing channel art, what are they going to think about this channel art? And move forward with that, and the analytical information will help you to understand what is going on. Can you dig it?
Mic drop on that one. There's nothing else left to say.
Yeah, and the only thing I would add to that is that's part of the reason why, no, he had a great answer. That's part of the reason why consistency when you're starting out is so important, because if you have a channel and you're kind of uploading here and there, you're just not going to be able to get that data that you need to effectively make the decisions that you have to make to move forward and to grow your channel. Because success on YouTube is all about small tweaks. And if you're not consistent and you're not doing the work and you're not creating video after video, you're just not gonna be able to get there.
So make some videos.
Make more videos.
Make more videos.
Get more
Yes.
data.
But make it good videos. It's not always quality over quantity, so we could go down that rabbit hole.
Does anyone have anything else they'd like to add?
That was good.
Brian G. covering for the entire panel. However, our next question is, sorry if you guys hear this a little loud, our next question is, when did you get over the fear of making videos?
Any day now.
When did you get over the fear of making videos?
The very first video, because in order to get over the fear of making videos, you make that first video. So after you make that very first one, then from that point forward, then you have basically, you've overcome that fear of making videos. So then from there, you have to go through the publish process of actually saying, okay, well, I made the video, now I got to get over the fear of actually hitting that publish button so that other people will be able to see it. So I think for all of us, when we, first started making content, just making that first video, like that's when you get over that fear, is making that first video, and then you get over the second one when you decide to actually start publishing.
That was great. So for me, it was also making the first video. That was actually the fear of making the first video, the fear of what are people going to think, I hated the sound of my own voice, like most people do. If you hate the sound of your own voice, type in yes right now in the chat. That's probably going to be most of the people in the chat right now. But once I got over the fear of uploading that first video, the second fear that I had, well, and this is something that most of us probably deal with regularly, is how to become a better communicator. Like, I'm over the fear of actually making the video now. I'm confident in how I set things up. I'm confident in my editing skills, but how I communicate my message, that's the thing that I deal with now, is am I saying the right thing so that you understand what I'm trying to say? So I think that's a fear that, for me anyway, it's probably never going to go away, because I'm constantly going to be trying to find a better way to communicate with my people who are watching my videos.
I would say everyone is making videos in their daily life, whether it's TikTok, Instagram stories, Snapchat. You're actually making videos a lot of the time. Sometimes you're doing a Facebook message to your friend. And the truth is, when you do that, you feel comfortable because you know that you're talking to your friend. And so I would say also, if you're someone who is feeling not the best about being on camera, maybe I would do some Instagram stories to your friends that disappear in 24 hours. It's not a lot of commitment. And you can experiment. How do I like the camera to be held? What angles do I like? All of that stuff is just going to make you better. But if you think about what you're doing, is if you're communicating your message and you're communicating to a friend, I've done it before in the very beginning of my channel, where I actually taped a photo of my best friend right underneath the lens cap, so I felt like I was talking to my friend. And so that made me feel a lot more confident and on camera, because I'm not just talking to everyone on the internet, because that is terrifying. I am talking to my friend Karen, my best friend, Karen. So
Did you say
Karen,
so?
if you're ever watching, hi. But the point is, you have to get comfortable. And I hate to burst people's bubble, but in the very beginning, when people especially don't know you, and the most of your views are going to come from search, no one cares about you at all. They only care about the answer that is in the video for whatever question they're searching. So if you think about what is the message I'm communicating, how can I best do that? How can I talk like it's a friend and not like a terrifying piece of equipment? That's all you have to do, and the more you do it, and the more you can become repetitive at it, you'll get better at it. And if you can batch your content, do 2, 3, 4 videos at a time, all of a sudden, by the time you're to the 3rd video, you're fine, and you're a lot more calm than you were in your first video. So I would batch as well.
All right.
Man, I really love this question because I think this gets at the heart of what makes a great creator great. And that is we got to start and we got to make it happen and we've got to conquer a lot of fear. We're talking about fear, and I want to share something that I know can help you move forward without a shadow of a doubt. Like it always works. And what I want you to think about doing, it might seem a little wishy-washy or woo-woo, but just do this. Start out every day and say, you know what, hey, I got a belief I want to build, and the belief is that I'm a great creator and I make great videos, and I'm going to step up to the plate and I'm going to make great videos. And when you say that again and again, you're going to start developing a belief within yourself that you are that person, and it's going to be just a tiny bit. I'm not going to say it's going to cure you of your fear, but what if it just alleviated a little bit of the fear that you have, because you start developing a belief system within yourself that you have the capability to move forward, to do the things that you need to do, and to make that first video. Now, when you do that over time, it's going to help. Now, the next thing I want you to think about is you schedule some time where you're going to make the video. How do I make the first video? And when you get to that time, here's what you do. You go to the camera and you turn on the camera. And then when you're done with that, you turn on the lights, or you get the windows open, you get the drapes, and when you're done with that, you turn on the microphone. And you don't think. We're not going to think, because at this point, thinking is the thing that's stopping us. So you continue to move forward, and you've been developing the belief, and now you're moving forward, and you'll start to film the video. And that will allow you to move forward and get over the fear of publishing your first video.
Great answer. So I have one thing to add. Feel the fear and do it anyway. Fear has a lot to do with how you perceive it. If you're feeling fear, that's not always a bad thing. And honestly, when you stop feeling a little bit afraid, it means that you're complacent, you're playing it safe. And sometimes that feeling of fear is happening because you're leveling up, because you're moving forward, because you're doing something that's out of your comfort zone. So a lot of times fear has to do with how you look at it. And if you look at it and you embrace it and you work through it, that's where magic can truly happen.
Could not agree more. So, I think that's a great piece of advice from everyone on the panel. We have one thing from the audience. Congratulations, Brian G, on 100,000 subscribers.
Woo! And congratulations to Brian G. Johnson, 100,000 subscribers, and he absolutely just demolished his talk today.
He did.
Killed it. And I just a little personal note here. I just want to state that for the record, Brian G. Johnson does not use dark mode. So we just needed to get that out there.
That is a death sentence.
Busted. Right.
All right, guys. Our next question is, what do you do when you feel like your channel is dying? What do you do when you feel like your channel is dying?
Okay, I'll take this first. Anytime I feel that it's not when I feel it, when I notice my numbers are starting to go down, the first thing I do is I jump into my analytics and I go back and I look at the videos that I've made in the past 60 to 90 days and I say, okay, what did work? Obviously something that I've done in my past few uploads isn't working, so what can I go back and double down on that did work within the past 60 to 90 days? So, and I go back, basically it goes back to research. I start researching again.
I like that answer a lot.
So when that happens, typically like the idea is just to go into the content that you found is proven to perform and make sure that you are doubling down on that content. Because as content creators, it's really easy to, start making content based on, like, hey, I just want to, kind of go down this avenue for a little bit, or I want to explore these ideas, or hey, if I'm vlogging or whatever, I want to, vlog in a particular location that maybe I don't normally vlog in or something like that. So you want to kind of see what's happening now and what may be causing that to happen. but you also want to look historically and see the things that have worked on your channel, and when things start to go down a little bit, say how can I double down, or how can I make more of the content that has proven to perform on my channel, the things that people respond to. Like I know my content, my audience well enough. You guys, I know it well enough to where when things get to a certain point, in terms of things are going well to a certain point, then I have a certain cutoff to where I say, okay, well now I can start experimenting a little bit, and then what happens there is things will either rise more or they'll start falling a little bit. And when they start falling a little bit, I know the specific things that I need to do in terms of the specific type of content that I need to make and things like that based on what you respond to in order to bring things back to a more steady level.
That's awesome. Piggyback on that for a second. Yeah, I want to take it back for just one moment to piggyback on what he just said. And that's once you do have a larger content library, you start to learn the types of videos that do work on your channel. And I hate to call it like you're pulling a lever, but sometimes if you need to get the numbers back up, you know the right videos to make, and you just kind of pull that lever and you make the videos that you need to make to drive those videos, to drive the views back in the right direction.
I think one thing that you have to really think about as well is there could be a natural seasonality to your own channel. So if you're a tech review channel and you really go hard on cell phones, and cell phone season is just happening, or we're in the midst of it right now, it might make sense that in March or April, when there isn't a big huge Pixel 4 or iPhone 11 release that's happening, your channel could be going down in views. So it's up to you to be more creative about how you would take that content and make it more appealing to people. So you have to think about, there's always a why. So then you go back into your analytics and you look at your last 30 videos, or you look at the videos that have performed the biggest and best on your channel, and you make more of that. Or you can start going in and doing polling on your own channel and say, what do you guys want to see? How can I bring you in to be more interactive with this? Because if people feel like you are listening to them as well and you're bringing them content that they're asking for, that's also something very powerful right there, is maintaining the relationship with the audience that you do have. And then you also have to think about, if you are making a pivot in your content, it's very possible that your channel could be losing subscribers from the content that you used to do, and maybe that's okay because you're getting closer to your true 1,000 fans, and it might actually, if you ask the question, it might be okay that your channel doesn't have as much traction or momentum as it did because you have people who are there now willing to purchase or still like and trust you for a different reason. So it's always a why. Why does it maybe matter, but also why is it happening? And if you look in the analytics, which YouTube is really good at giving you, it's not always good at explaining what those numbers mean. If you look at it, you're probably going to find an explanation in there, and from that explanation, you can make a roadmap.
So one more thing to add, everybody said amazing answer.
Oh, Judy Fox is cited.
All right, so I'm going to continue on with this topic. So if your channel is
Pure
dying,
chaos.
there's a disconnect between the content that you're creating and your audience, or what your audience wants from you. It's a feedback loop, right? You're creating content, you're being consistent, but you're not getting the views. So there's that disconnect. Either you're not really understanding what your audience wants and needs from you, or you're not giving them what they want. So without being redundant in what they said, and Brian already said this, your audience is so key, and it serves as a filter. So if your audience is dying, then you need to take a look at and reassess. Like maybe you're burnt out, and maybe that energy is showing up on camera and people are sensing it. Maybe you're just not on the up and up on your niche anymore, and you're over it and you're just churning out content. So if your channel is dying, that's an important feedback loop, and you really need to focus on either yourself to figure out, are you over this topic, just kind of what Shelly said, are you going to be moving on, or are you not understanding your audience enough to know what content to create for them?
Man, so awesome, and I love that everyone keeps hitting on the audience, right? Like audience, know your audience. So what do you do though, because this is a common problem, what do you do when you are targeting your audience? And if you haven't, start doing that. What do you do if you are, but you're still not growing, or you don't see the results? One of the things that I've kind of done for myself that's really helped me is I've leveraged a method I call the looping method. And the looping method is really simple. It's that every single video you upload, you look at one particular thing from a list of the most important stuff. So that's things like all the stuff you've heard about, like your thumbnail and your title, and maybe the backdrop and your technical quality, all these things, and you say, what's the weakest element of these things, and you strive to improve it. And then, as you move forward with that, you make the video, and when the video is done, once again, you assess how well you've done at improving that one thing You don't have to, and I don't recommend you try to improve everything because that's completely overwhelming. And after you've done that, you go back and it's time to make another video and you look at the list of the 10 things and you strive to improve. And when you do that, you loop and you're making content for the audience and you're always striving to improve, and you're gonna win because of that's powerful stuff. So worked really well for me.
All right, I think that is a great natural stop.
I like that
Judy
you
Fox.
said to reduce the overwhelm, one thing at a time.
Reduce
So
the
if you're
overwhelm.
I
Go
do
for it.
LinkedIn
Hand
and
the
LinkedIn video, and I know I'm blowing you guys' mind because you're all like, wait, I'm listening to this on YouTube, and we're talking about YouTube videos. But I just did a presentation about the 4 places you can upload your YouTube video to LinkedIn. You don't have to even edit it, just upload it, and I'm happy to show you guys how to do that because that is powerful, and it just allows your content to be on another platform. Whether you make it's like the same thing Brian just said. Do one thing at a time. So if you can even just upload a link. I know Sean Cannell is doing that. He's uploading his YouTube video links to LinkedIn just to have them live on one more platform. So kudos to Sean and Benji because I know they're doing it, and I know Daryl is doing it. I know Jeremy Vest is doing that. I mean, I'm trying to think of all the creators. Are you guys doing this?
Upload my videos
Yep.
every now and then, but not a lot.
Okay, just again, not overwhelming, just one video at a time. Really isn't that truly it? It's one video at a time, and I need to take that advice to get on YouTube.
I think that is a great
I know.
segue.
Who wants the mic? The mic is hot.
I think that's a great segue to our next question. Our next question is, how do I know what content to upload to each platform? So how do I decide what content goes on each platform?
Wow. So I mean, I'm just having the mic, so I'll just say it really quick. What content to upload to LinkedIn? I will say that the professional and personal sides of life are blurring. So it isn't so stuffy like people think of LinkedIn before. So I would say go ahead and upload it. It's the copy that tells the professional side of the story. Sometimes the video. I have uploaded a video of just a laugh track to LinkedIn, and it performed. And it got me a speaking spot on stage, that video. And the reason why, it's because the copy and the story that went with it, because I talked about how I was working in a professional environment that was so stuffy that I felt like I couldn't laugh anymore. So it was a story about professional story merged with a laugh track video, which was so much fun to make. That video was a lot of fun.
One of the things I'll add to that is I would say don't do that. It might be a little different, but one of the things to think about is this stuff can be and is overwhelming, and it's pretty darn challenging to be able to move forward and get the kind of results you probably want to get. So if you're excited about YouTube and you'd like to see a lot of views and a lot of subscribers, or if you're excited about maybe like what about LinkedIn or Instagram, if you're doing all 3 of those things, that's a lot to learn. And if you're trying to manage it all, you're really compounding the overwhelm and whatnot. So for me, by just say, hey, at this point, I'm focused on YouTube, and maybe I'm going to write a book or I'm going to do something else. But I'm pretty focused on one thing, and it really allows me to get great results. And as I get a platform moving, as I gain momentum, then I'm going to add in, I'm going to start writing a book, or I'm going to look at Instagram, or I'm going to think about building a new course because I have understanding in one platform when just a bit ago I had 0 understanding. Choose one that you're excited about and move forward with that.
And I think that comes also from where you are in the journey. So, for example, where Judy is saying to upload to all of these places, from where she's at in the journey and her audience and the people that she's speaking to with that, they are, entrepreneurs and they're marketers and things like that who, take advantage of all these platforms so that they can drive, traffic to their businesses and all of that. So that's a fantastic, approach. But if you're a content creator on YouTube and you're just trying to figure out how do I even, get people to like my stuff? How do I make videos that people even enjoy? Like when you're at that part, just focus on getting that part right, and then once you start getting that and you start getting people coming into your videos and your stats all show that you're making the right choices in terms of how you're putting your content together and the topics you're choosing and all that, that's when you can start thinking, hey, is this content right for one of these other platforms?
Hey, hold on, hang on. Did I tell you about my 100,000 subscribers? I mean, can I get a hallelujah?
Hallelujah!
I mean, can I get a thank you, Lord?
Thank you, Lord.
Can I get, oh my God, I made it happen?
Oh my God, he made it happen. Well, with that, I think Brian. Wait. Well, don't worry. I know some of you we have to unfortunately say goodbye to because some of you have pre-existing things. Brian, Nick, D, you are alleviated. Shelly, and of course, Erica, if you need to go as well. We do have people coming in. Don't worry, chat. It's going to be flowing throughout the night. So, we have Mr. Daniel Batal coming on. We have Dan Courier coming down. We have a lot of great people coming on tonight, so don't move anywhere. We also have an amazing group of people that are watching live in the audience. We might poll some questions there. Shelly, do you want to stay or what?
Yeah. You can stay.
So do you want to answer that question?
Sure.
Let's go. All right, we
I
are
will be a time
transitioning.
filler while we have some changing. Yes. So one thing I want to say is really respect the platform that you're on. I would say that it is absolutely possible to be on all of them, but if you really think about it, a 16:9 wide is not really going to always look the best on Instagram. So that really looks best in a 1080x1350 a lot of the time to take up more room. So if you're very intentional about what your images and video look like, I think, and respect it. Just like on Pinterest, you probably would want to make a long form pin with maybe a multi-step tutorial with a video link or in the bottom embedded, but I don't think that if you just put your thumbnail there, it's going to work out that well for you. So if you take a couple extra seconds to respect the type of audience that's on each platform, then I think that you can actually succeed in repurposing. I like to say recycle and repurpose your content. You can put it all the places. Just take an extra second or two to fit the dimensions of what that platform wants. Upload natively there and actually just don't care about the one view on the one platform. Stop trying to drive people off of all the platforms onto one. Just meet people where they are, and I think you'll be fine.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting perspective also. So I host a podcast called the YouTube Power Hour podcast, and I also work with and coach women on their channels. And the thing that I say time and time again, especially for YouTube, is focus on YouTube. The women that have been on my podcast that have been very successful, we're talking about millions of subscribers. My students, my clients are now in 500,000 subscribers, 1 million subscribers. They leaned into YouTube because there's so many moving parts to YouTube. And I'm assuming most of you watching this don't have an entire team of people. Yes, I'd love to be like Gary Vaynerchuk. I'd love to have my hands in every single social media platform. But the reality is, we don't all have that. So if you're starting from somewhere, my advice always is figure out your strengths, figure out really where you can shine, and then lean into that platform and dominate it and put as much content on it as possible. Then once you have a following there, then you can focus on other things because it's much easier to monetize as well. We have a larger following somewhere, and it's easier to create a larger following if you're just really focused in on that.
I'm going to play devil's advocate. And I'm going to slightly contradict that because, as beginner advice, I think that's somewhat appropriate. But here's the reality, and many of you are feeling this and frustrated and realizing this: you can't trust any of these platforms. Putting all your eggs in one basket is the same thing as just having a day job and waiting to be fired when something goes wrong that you don't control and you're leveraged. And that the reality is that with YouTube, anything could happen with the algorithm, anything could happen with demonetization, anything could happen with the culture of the niche that you're in could shift, and then you're out of touch or this or that very quickly in a year or this after you put all this energy in, only to become quote unquote irrelevant. And then if you put all your eggs in this platform, what if you end up like the YouTube Kids channels, and then all of a sudden your comments are gone and your engagement dies, and that wasn't your fault because of a government regulation. Copyright claims, you don't know what's going to happen with Article 13, depending on where you are. Leaning all in onto a platform sounds great, and it's a fast way to grow that one thing, but building everything on that rented land, and it's only one rental property, is dangerous right now. I would have given that advice 3 years ago. I can't in good conscience fully go there today. I think that what you're saying isn't incorrect, but I'm just another point of view because
I like the difference.
Because today, the reality is everybody and everything should be diversified, because in the same way that everyone is talking like Gary Vee about the world melting, the economy melting, you better look at social media and realize we're in meltdown mode with the media demonizing technology. Every time you look around, Facebook doesn't care about your privacy. Instagram's ruining your mental health. YouTube is promoting extremism. The same platforms that compete for ad revenue with the news media demonizes. We're the ones as content creators who feel the brunt of that when FTC fines YouTube or does regulations or changes the platform and says you can't do this or that. The influencer regulations are going to get tighter, so brand deals might dry up for all we know. If you're a content creator in the UK, there's a ticking clock right now. It's bad. So honestly, my answer to it is, regardless of what platform you're building on, you better build a website. You better be building your email list. If you could go all in on any platform all you want, but if you don't own that relationship, they can cut you off anytime. So I would diversify if you can. I don't think you have to be at every platform. I think you need 2 or 3 that you are actually good at. And to Shelly's point, I like the repurposing thing. I like the idea of that. My new thesis is build platform agnostic content. 2005, 2006 YouTube, all anyone did was upload television shows and movies. And so if it could live on TV or whatever, it could live on YouTube. The Office didn't do so great on TV, and it's the most watched show on Netflix, more than Friends. So again, platform agnostic is the way that I would go. Diversify.
So just to respond to that, I completely agree with what you're saying, because it is a scary world out there with social media, with everything that's going on. You don't own it. The thing is though, because I work with so many, my client base is women,
sure,
but it happens with men too,
yes,
is that there's a large amount, and we talked to this earlier, of burnout. And I
yes,
see this happening when people are trying to dominate multiple platforms and they're just not seeing traction on anything. And so there's other things that you can do as insurance against that. And you mentioned it too, is I say, well, if you're monetizing, figure out a way to capture that audience another way, which is through an email list or something like that. But I agree, it's kind of this double-edged sword, because there's a lot of people that I work with, they're moms, they're working, they're students, and they only have so much time in a week to dedicate.
So my answer
and
to
I'd like to jump in on this real quick.
So
basically, when it comes to making sure wherever the platform you're on, the one thing we all have to remember is, are you enjoying the platforms you are on? Because at the end of the day, if you're not enjoying the content you're creating, I think that matters so much. Because a lot of times people are like, I don't have fun creating on this platform, but it pushes to what I want to do. And that's a waste of your valuable time at that point.
Absolutely.
Now, I will say, I love the discussion, I love the debate. We have a lot of questions.
Moving on.
Yeah.
Erica, I know you said you had to go. Do you still need to leave?
I can hang out for a little bit. I was going with her, so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was going for her, so yeah.
That being said, it's up to you. But our next question, I think a lot of you, Dan, do you want to speak on that last one, or do you want the next question? I say let's go. Our next question came from, I want to make sure that my audience knows about my uploads, but I'm not sure about the subscriber bell. How do you guys rectify that?
Oh my God, no. Okay. I have feelings. People, if you are relying on YouTube, who says that they will maybe send out 10% of your audience a subscriber bell, then shame on you. Shame on you. You should have no viewers, and you probably will. And if you think that that is the best way for you to build your subscriber base, shame on you, okay? You can go in and you can say, please hit that bell and hit that subscribe button and all that stuff. People don't do it, okay? Go look at your analytics where it says 90% of your audience doesn't even subscribe to your channel. So if you're waiting for 10% of your subscribed audience to get a notification, no, that's not gonna happen for you. So if you don't have an email list, if you don't go out there and say on Instagram stories that you're about to post a video, if you don't go out there and make a YouTube story, if you don't go out there and actually tell everyone you know, mouth to mouth, word to word, face to face, that's how you actually get people. If you have to be in control of your own destiny, if you're waiting on YouTube to do it, shame on you. You don't deserve it.
Oh, Shelly, rocking the house.
You know, I can barely hear half of that, but it looks so passionate, I'm not sure I should follow it.
Ooh. I mean, that was a very passionate plea there from Shelly. Although, if any of them have different opinions.
Rectify that YouTube is not sending enough subscription notifications for people to see your new videos.
Dan Courier
You're not sending
to the
enough
mic.
notifications to your subscribers.
you drop a new video?
Yeah, I mean, I basically think that's just a detail that you really shouldn't even be focused on. Focus on making better content, bringing in new audience. From the pieces that I was able to hear from Shelly, for a lot of us, a very high percentage of our views are from non-subscribers anyway, so focus on the new opportunities and don't dwell on what you perceive as, YouTube not, sharing your content or, reaching everybody that you think they should. There's so much opportunity in people who haven't subscribed yet to your channel that I would personally focus all my energy on them.
And
I love that
I
answer.
love what Shelly's passion on this is so on point. Because here's a way to look at it. Imagine if it really was just based on subscriber count. How could new creators get in front of people? The fact that right now, the fact right now that there's more emphasis put on recommended and not just subscriber count is a beautiful thing for up-and-coming artists, up-and-coming creators. So, like Shelly said, don't just focus on that. Focus on creating amazing content so YouTube recommends it and it gets to a wider audience.
Here is my take on this, my hot take on this, is that if you're relying on, YouTube already gives you free hosting. They give you a 55% rev share on advertisers you don't have to go out and find for yourself, like back in the day when you had to actually build a real business. Like podcasters, gives you 55% of ad revenue that you don't have to go out and find, unlike Vine never did, Snapchat doesn't do that, Instagram doesn't do that for anybody. There's no platform that does that. And now you also expect them to do the work of building an audience for you. That's and then you're gonna complain, that's a you problem, homie.
Not a YouTube problem.
That's not a YouTube problem, that is a you problem, not a tube problem, homie. So, harsh, we going savage here.
I'll chime in again with a haven't you people ever heard of, we're losing viewers. What is wrong with now joking? In all seriousness, I think there's one thing that's very important to hear what they're saying, because a lot of times we put so much faith in the platform. In reality, we can just promote just as easily as YouTube, and if not, I find that more effective, especially for those watching.
I put all of my
TubeBuddy.
faith in myself.
And I like that. It's important to remember that just because we're on YouTube doesn't mean we have to rely everything on YouTube, which goes to what you were saying earlier, Roberto, on diversifying where you're putting your time.
I don't bend the knee.
Fair point.
The rest
Our
of you,
next question
the rest of you
is...
bent the knee to the algorithm, and that's your problem.
Well, speaking of that, it's with the algorithm, how does a gaming channel stand out is our next question.
How does a gaming channel stand out? Does anyone have...
I don't have a
Does
game.
I
anyone
would say, though, Erica and Judy, we have more experts that need to go on, so
Well, then there you go.
thank you. Daniel?
All right, before I ever go in on that,
Dan,
do you have
feel
feelings
free to
about,
move up.
how a gaming channel stays relevant today and stands out?
Sure. Yeah, I think a lot of people talk about gaming channels being oversaturated, but I think the reality of that is lazy gaming channels are oversaturated because people...
Oh, you mean Let's Play channels?
Yeah, channels that do Let's Play, which is basically just, hey, I'm just going to play games all day and record it, and then, say I pump out 1,000
The
videos.
panel has
The
changed
reality
again.
is you have to
Dan
differentiate
Courier,
yourself
Daniel Batal.
from what everybody else is doing. Try to be useful, try to give people value, and I think people will resonate with that. How-tos, tutorials, things that you can provide them where you're teaching them something about the game or giving them a different angle on the game. I think trying to do that as opposed to just recording yourself and hoping you just have a magnetic personality is a much better approach. It's far more likely to get you results than, just doing what everybody else is doing.
I'll literally tell you right now how to get, I'll tell you how to get 1 million subscribers as a gaming channel, like Bijou Mike, but the thing is 99.9% of you can't do it, won't do it, and you're not good enough. And I'm sorry about that. I'm so sorry about that. I'm going to be harsh with you. I'm going to be savage. I'm going to break your heart. I'm going to Cobra Kai, rip it out of your chest. 99.9% of you should not be doing a gaming channel because you are not a good gamer, you are not an epic gamer, and you are not funny. You're not PewDiePie. You're not PewDiePie.
Man.
I'm sorry, you are not
That is a
exceptional.
take, folks.
You don't have an exceptional work ethic, you are not good at the game, and you don't have the level of self-deprecating humor to make up for the fact that you suck at the game. But if you, just in case, some of you actually are still watching now that I've literally broken your poor little hearts and hurt your feelings, here's the actual strategy that I would use if I was in the gaming space in YouTube. Number one, you can do kind of what Dan was talking about. and I could do a lore channel around gaming, and I could find a game franchise, I could do something, and I could go beyond just, I could do how-tos and tutorials, but I could also do a lore channel for people who are a fan of the franchise, do exactly what the anime community is doing, what the Star Wars community is doing, and go into the story, the world building, the characters, fantasy, fan fiction scenarios of the characters, and all of that, just like what Star Wars Theory is doing, and all of this stuff, and that would work within the gaming niche, and it's the same culture anyway. Another angle for that would be tech combined with gaming, kind of like what Kyle is doing from Bitwit, and then you also have another monetization option because now you have all the hardware stuff, you have brand deals, and it's much more versatile. The other thing you can do is gaming commentary. Fortnite is doing a reset, and they're doing a whole new thing, but the thing would not be to play Fortnite because if you're not good at Fortnite. If you're not Tfue, if you're not Ninja, or you're not going to be, here's the real answer. You do gaming commentary, but not BS YouTube drama commentary for gaming. What you do is you become like a sportscaster, and you become like Bod Costas, you become Monday Night Football, but for Fortnite or for Minecraft. You become Monday Night Football for Fortnite or Minecraft, and you do a highlight reel, but then it's also fair use because most of the content is not the highlight reel. It's 20% so you can use their name and face in the thumbnail and title, and then what you do is you put on a show with a format like Philip DeFranco, but for the gaming space, and do gaming news and do highlight reels and do a let's see that again and the slow-mos, and you kind of make fun of some things and you talk about what's going on in the community, and you become the community show. And now you can siphon from the name of those big YouTubers, you can do this, and like what Bijou Mike did that was unique, that was not that, was Bijou Mike found the unique quirks of a game, and he found games that were accessible to the public, free to play, so they had a massive audience, and then he would do the weirdest thing that you could do in the game and highlight that, and he did it in a niche that was underserved and undersaturated because he found out that a lot of the big YouTubers did these dating sim games, but they only did it for like 5 or 10 episodes, and they got tens of millions of views, and then they abandoned it and moved on. So that audience had nowhere to go. So he siphoned and picked up that audience, and that is the path to 1 million subscribers as a gaming channel if you were actually good enough, actually creative, actually talented, and didn't want to do lazy let's play effing videos.
I think one thing to think, if you really want to go into gaming, fine. I would say try and focus on what makes you special. Is it the way that you do commentary? Is it the way that you break down, these are the cheat codes and we're going to test them and see if they work? Or if there's something that is very unique and special to you, really lean in on it. And if it's how to simulate dating situations, and that's what you're really good at is building those environments, then keep building those and then make videos about how you built that or why it's important. And try and keep it kind of centralized under a single umbrella of a unique characteristic or trait. If you really want to actually do something in gaming, and something that's so saturated, I would say pick something.
Dan or Daniel, do you want to comment on it?
Say something to people saying that it's just making them feel discouraged and everything like
that.
Go
for it.
If that makes you feel discouraged. Do you realize how hard it is to earn attention? Do you
then
realize
go
what
into
the
my
world
blocked
before the
words
internet
section
was?
and
like a lot of you feel
comments.
sad about subscribers. Like I guarantee you that I could drag you here to VidSummit and tell you to do the kind of content you do here in front of even 5, 10, 15, 100 people, you feel scared and you feel embarrassed. If you think the idea of what we're suggesting is hard, it makes you feel discouraged, and it's not that helpful and everything, we literally gave you strategies. We gave you tactics and everything like that. If you want cheerleading and everything like that, I'm sorry, you came to the wrong place. I'm sorry. Actual help. I had a track and cross country coach. You know what he didn't do? He didn't hold my hand and he didn't coddle me and everything. He pushed me to be great. He pushed me to be great, and greatness requires suffering. Greatness requires some level of suffering. It means overcoming. Every single one of you probably watched anime. Look at what Kakarot did. Look at what freaking Naruto did. Look at what all of these people had to go through. It's like, you think this is hard? You're being soft.
And the hard part here is figuring out when to move on in a moderation panel. But I do have a question. Do Dan or Daniel want to take this? You want to talk about how gaming channels can stand out on the platform? All right.
Well, I already addressed it. You good?
All right. Our next question is, sometimes on the platform, even though I'm doing most of the steps, I still see that my views aren't coming. Does this mean tags aren't relevant? They're doing all the steps right. They see that they have tags, but they're not getting views. Are the tags still relevant?
One thing I would say, that's two parts of a question right there. You're doing everything right / are tags relevant? Okay, so I would say the first part is sometimes you look at your channel with very rose-colored glasses, and if you think that you're doing absolutely everything right, and there's absolutely nothing else that you could be doing to help improve your chances to be seen on YouTube, I would ask an honest question, an honest friend to say, if you looked at my channel, would you know what it was about? Do you think that this video is any good? Because you start watching and editing and you don't realize that it took you 2 minutes to get into the meat of what that video is about. And an audience isn't going to sit through that if they don't know you yet and they're not really into you, and they're not going to get a chance to like you if you can't give them what they're looking for at the beginning, which a lot of the time is search. So I would say, if you really truly believe that you've done everything you can, get another opinion, because even anyone else's opinion is still going to give you something to look at in terms of data, and I don't believe that you've probably done absolutely everything in your power. I mean, there's so much now that any of us now would be like, oh, we wish we had a new channel banner. We wish we could go back and work on some of our own thumbnails. We wish that we could work on our description boxes. There's no video that I have that I would look back on and be like, it's absolutely perfect the way it is. There's not a single thing that I would edit and not change. There's always something to improve.